Oftentimes, the Cincinnati Reds use hope as a strategy. But what we know is that in 2025, they found their long-term right fielder, and his name is Noelvi Marte.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff, his name is Steve, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we're glad that you're alongside us here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Reds, every single day. And on today's podcast, a little bit later on, we're going to dive into a very concerning part of 2025. We're going to start like a little bit of a thing as we look back on some of the, oh boy, moments of the year. And we're going to start with extra innings games because, oh boy, we'll tell you why later on. In a few minutes, we'll look at the optimal outfield for your Cincinnati Reds and what is most likely to happen in the outfield, as we are talking about the fact that Noelvi Marte is your right fielder, so you can start to fill in the other spots in that outfield. That's all on today's podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to save $20 off your first purchase. All right, Steve, with 2025, a surprise came our way because at the beginning of the season, I think if you'd have told us, you or me, that Noelvi Marte would play a pivotal role down the stretch and that it wouldn't be in the infield, I think we'd have been like, and that's exactly what happened. And he is your right fielder for opening day 2025.
Yeah, this kind of came out of 2026. This kind of came out of nowhere. This was born of necessity. This was born of the Reds trying anything they could do to just keep Noelvi in the lineup when he was on a heater. And what they discovered is, it's not always the prettiest right field that he plays, but however, he gets the job done out there. In the 2025 season, we saw 90 games from Noelvi Marte, a slash line of 263, 300, 448. He hit 14 home runs. His OPS plus was right at league average, right at 100, as he was learning this new position. He's only going to get better from there. He's heading into his age 24 season, Jeff, where he's going to be the full-time right fielder for this team. I think he'll be good for at least 20 home runs out there. I think you're looking at an OPS plus of about 115 to 120. That is perfectly acceptable. I will take that from the right fielder of this team. And to boot, while the defense looks a little sometimes, that arm does not look at all. He will gun down some dudes from right field.
That's the best arm that they've had in right field since Jay Bruce. And I have no qualms about saying that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that there's an opportunity for that fielding to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more smooth with more reps out there, because I think that a lot of it is just his fly ball tracking ability, where early on this week we talked about, if Ellie De La Cruz moved to center field, feels like that he is good at tracking the fly balls. Noelvi Marte doesn't always take the best route, even if it's a can of corn. I remember seeing a couple of can of corns that I'm like, all right, dude, you got to catch this. And I'm seeing you shimmy a little bit like you're not really sure exactly where it is. Please get underneath of this.
And the way he runs with his glove out, like straight out in front of him sometimes. And I'm like, does he know where the baseball is? Where is he going? And then right at the last second, he gets it. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, we got it. Hopefully he can cut back on the trick-or-treating for foul balls out there, or for fly balls out there in right field. I think that we'll see that, though. I think a lot of that is just reps and the fact that he's always been a shortstop and a third baseman. And he's always played on the left side of the infield. And now he's in the outfield on the right side, and you're further back. There's a lot of different things that go into it. But his athleticism translates so well. And, of course, he had the play of the year.
Just real quick before you move on to the play of the year, that tracks what you just said. We've heard from many, many major leaguers that have made that move from the left side to the right side and have talked about the nuances of playing on the other side. The ball is spinning differently. Things look differently. It really is learning a whole new way of doing things. So, the guys that make that look easy and seamlessly, they're gifted athletically. So I think that Noelvi Marte's athleticism, you're absolutely right, will translate. That will continue to get better. And the rumbling, bumbling, stumbling days of right field they'll go away. But you're right. One of the plays of the year belong to Noelvi Marte.
Might be the signature moment. If you're looking for a point in the regular season, like the Reds were just hanging around for so long, but you kept thinking, well, they're hanging around. They're not like in control of their destiny. They did not get control of their destiny until he robbed that home run from Brian Reynolds against the Pittsburgh Pirates there on that day. Like I firmly stand by that. And one play didn't make a career, but it's certainly given him an opportunity to.
Well, and it showed what he's capable of. That was not a non-athletic play. That was a big athletic play for him to get back and get in position and then go up and get it. Like all of those things were very athletic, and it gives me hope for what he'll be out there next season. I really truly do. Look, it's fun to make fun of him and some of the stuff he did in 20. It's just fun. And it's not like I can go out there and play right field, but it was fun. It was fun to watch. And definitely gave me some heart palpitations. What's Lance McAllister always say? It's making his pacemaker fire. You know, that's how Noelvi Marte played right field. Yeah. Got to get the batteries changed, right? But he does have that athleticism, and it does give me hope that some of the plays he make and some of the throws he made out there in right field, it does give me hope that he's going to be a bona fide right fielder for this team for the next several seasons. And that's not nothing. That helps to finally start bringing some stability back to this outfield that has been unstable for a lot of years now. The idea that now in the right field position, we kind of know, health assumed, we know what that looks like, not just in 2026, but 2027, 2028. We know what that looks like for the Cincinnati Reds. And that goes a long way into the long-term planning for the front office and what Nick Krall can do and what freedom he might have to, in yesterday's episode, we talked about trading Brady Singer to go out and get parts. Well, you can scratch right field off of that list now of things that need to be addressed. It's one less thing Nick Krall has to worry about.
Right. And I think it's intriguing because we talk about fielding statistics a little bit here on the pod, because I think that, as much as the eye test is one thing, you can either support it or you can buoy it with what is happening on the stat sheet. And as it were, he played over 400 innings in right field. And when you kind of like sort out some things, that's not enough to be a qualified fielder as they count that. But for players that have played at least 350 innings, specifically in right field, only 10 guys had more defensive runs saved than him. He had 5 defensive runs saved this year. And the next guy up on that list, Steve, is Corbin Carroll. So when you're that close to a guy like that, there's more than just, there's more than just speculation about you could be something in that position. Like Noelvi Marte has a very interesting baseline with this. And I really am intrigued to see how he grows. And you're playing a full season's worth and not just, what was that? It was like 2 months. It was August and September, basically. Because I think he played right field for like a couple of games in July, but for the most part, it was August 1st through the end of September. And I really think that we're going to see that continue. And I think that his bat's going to come along too. I think there's a lot that kind of went into that there at the end of the season for him. But I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, and his bat wasn't horrible. I mean, I gave the slash line earlier there, 263, 300, 448. Love to see that slugging go up. It will. Love to see that batting average go up a little bit. It will. Again, I think the key thing for him was that athleticism, because you're right. You look at the stat sheet, you look at the numbers, you look at what it says, and while it wasn't pretty, he did get the outs. And I guess at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how it looked him getting from point A to point B, as long as the ball landed in the glove. And more often than not, it did. So I'm with you. I think when he learns actually how to play that position, when he learns better routes, when he learns better reading of the baseball off the bat, he's going to be a good one out there, Jeff.
I think so too. And I think that this opens up so many possibilities when it comes to the outfield as a whole, because we no longer are sitting here wringing our hands and saying they gotta like start over, wipe the slate clean, and just get everybody new, because we know they got at least one. The rest of it and how it falls into place is a little bit easier too.
There's nothing like being at a live sporting event, whether it's baseball, football, the NHL, basketball, being there live, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person. How much fun is that? But actually getting the tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it all takes the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time. That's why Jeff uses Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And if you're going to a stadium that you've never been to before, a venue you haven't been in, they show you the view right from your seat, so you know exactly what it is that you are getting. Jeff and I use this all the time. We go down to the Dora, we have some food, we have a drink, we wait till first pitch is almost here, we get a great deal on tickets, and we head into the ballpark. If you want a deal like that, just download the Game Time app today, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great off-season content we've got coming your way. If you haven't been following us this week, you missed a great show on Elly De La Cruz. You missed a great show about the possibility of a trade involving Hunter Green. We're talking to you about Noelvi Marte today. And tomorrow, is it time to part ways with Tyler Stevenson? Stay tuned, folks. Click subscribe so you don't miss any of what we've got coming your way. All right, Jeff, we've talked about right field, and that's off the list. Scratch, check mark, we're done. Noelvi Marte, welcome. You're the guy. We did a whole episode talking about the idea that the best version of the Cincinnati Reds has Elly De La Cruz playing center field. We stand by that. We're not changing our mind. But also, we're trying to be realistic around here, and Nick Krall looked in a camera and said, I am not moving Elly De La Cruz. Nick Krall said, no. Are you thinking about it? No. Do you want to? No. Who's your shortstop? Elly De La Cruz. That's what Nick Krall said. So we have to be realistic. That means TJ Friedl is the center fielder for this team. And I mean, you know, he's not Elly, but he plays good defense out there. He's a left-handed hitter that can hold his own against left-handed pitching. So in the absence of some kind of crazy big move that we don't really see on the horizon, TJ Friedl is your center fielder in 2026.
And I believe in his overall body of work over last year, just in a vacuum. Because if you look at his last year just in a vacuum, TJ Friedl actually wasn't as good of a defender in center field as we thought. He's -10 defensive runs saved out there in center field. I think part of it is because he was dealing with something. And as much as we talk about the durability of TJ Friedl and how things go, we know that he's usually playing with some sort of injury. And they talked about at the end of the season, there were some quotes from Nick Krall where it said, you know, at times it felt like he had his speed, and at times it felt like he had less speed, and he was trying to save his legs because he was dealing with something. And everybody, you know, every player in Major League Baseball goes through things. It's a long season, it's a marathon, and all of those other cliches. But at the same time, we did see a drop-off in production for TJ Friedl. But the overall production for me still makes it simple that he is definitely the center fielder, barring a move, either of Elly to center field or adding somebody that I think he will at least begin the year there.
You know, it wasn't just his defense that it was a little bit off, Jeff, in 2025. Offensively, for the first time, his splits were not reversed, right? Against right-handed pitching, he was 268, 378, 394. Against lefties, he was 243, 330, 341. So for the first time, he did not have reverse splits. But if you, again, following your model there, if you take his career body of work for his career, he does have reverse splits he's been better in his career against left-handed pitching. His career slash line against lefties 272, 362, 408 compared to his slash line against righties, which is 253, 339, 416. So he can hold his own. I think he'll rebound back. If he was in fact going through something with his legs, if there was stuff happening, I think he'll revert to form, which is valuable. You can get him right back there at the top of the lineup again. You can play him against righties and against lefties. In the absence of a move of Ellie or for someone, I'm okay with him being the center fielder.
He's still in the age of his prime too. Like he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next August. So you're not talking about him being old, but he's also not in that group of guys that were like, oh yeah, he's still super young, still got his whole career ahead of him. So that's going to be the interesting part. It feels like 2026, he's got this. But what is happening after that? What is happening in 2027? What's happening in 2028? Now he's still under team control, but the question will be, what does that look like? I think 2026 is going to be a very telling season for Mr. TJ, for Terry Lee. And I'm very excited to see how he attacks it because I'm a huge fan of TJ. I love TJ Friedl. But if you're being realistic about where he's at, this is going to be a bit of a crossroads type of year. And how he takes advantage of that or how that challenges him will be key in what the Reds do in 2027.
Now, we've answered the right field question. We pretty much have our in-house answer for center field in 2026. That leaves us with left field. And this is the position that's probably the biggest mess for this team. And it has been the biggest mess for this team. And until they make a move, it will continue to be the biggest mess for this team. Because right now, in the absence of a move, I'm not sure what you're doing out there. I guess you could say maybe they go back to a Spencer Steer in left field. I hope not. There has been some talk that Gavin Lux becomes part of a platoon out there. Maybe you bring back Miguel Andujar and pair him up with Gavin Lux and you kind of use them in left field. I really, 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 really hope that they finally go out and get that power bat for left field.
Let's do a quick thing, a quick little game, quick little trivia game with this. The next, let's say the next 20 seconds or so. There were 12 guys who got at least 5 at-bats in left field for the Reds this year. See how many you can name.
Tyler Callahan, Spencer Steer.
Yep.
Did Miguel Andujar get him? Let's say Andujar.
Yep.
Espinal.
Yep.
Benson.
Yep.
I'm doing that's okay. There's my 5. I'm never going to get to 12.
So Austin Hayes as well. Gavin
Hayes.
Lux, Connor Joe, Blake Dunn, Jake Fraley, Jacob Hurtubise, and Garrett Hampson.
Ooh, Garrett Hampson.
They cycled through 12 different players at this one position. So not only is this a huge question mark and a huge need for 2026, it was a huge question mark and a huge need for 2025, and it was not addressed. They've got to address it in some way. And I think they tried to address it with Austin Hayes, and Austin Hayes just wasn't a good fit.
Well, does that tell us everything? Does that tell us everything we need to know about how that worked out? That I remembered Tyler Callahan, but I did not remember Austin Hayes.
It is, yeah. You remembered that Santiago Espinal played in left field. You remembered that Miguel Andujar actually did play 2 games in left field. And you forgot the 58 that Austin Hayes played.
My bad.
And it's still funny because we keep talking about the fact that, yeah, Austin Hayes technically by OPS Plus was the second best hitter on the team. But again, we keep looking at this like, all right, they signed him on a prove it deal and it felt like he didn't prove it. But if you were to make left field of what the Reds currently have right now, it's either a platoon of Gavin Lux and Will Benson on the left side, one of those 2 guys. And then the right side would be, I don't actually have somebody under contract right now. Like they would have to pick up.
It'd have to be Spencer Steer. It would have to be Spencer Steer.
Or yeah, it would have to be Spencer Steer. Yeah, that's right. It would have
you
to
put Sal Stewart at first base.
Because otherwise you would have to pick up the mutual option for Austin Hayes, which is $12 million, which would be more than a 100% raise for him. year over year. And I just don't think they're going to do that, because that would be a mutual option that both the player and the team would have to pick up on that. So right now, left field is the land of opportunity. And look, I give credit where credit's due. Gavin Lux hit 284 and got on base at a 353 clip as a left fielder, but he slugged 385. I need more power out there. And we've talked about this as well. Defensively, not good in left field. Not good at all.
So is it safe to say, let me ask you this. Is it safe to say that left field for you is the single biggest question mark on this team, more so than the bullpen and what they're going to do heading into the offseason? Is left field really where it's at, priority number one?
Yeah, because
it is for me. It is for me. The power hitting outfielder is for me priority number one. And I mean, it has been for a couple years, but more so this offseason than ever before. They have to address it. That's where I sit.
I also wonder too if they could get a power hitter, and then if they could get a left fielder, because you could conceivably get two of those based on some of the prices we were looking at according to Spot Track. Again, those are estimates, but at the same time, I think it's possible you don't have to go get that in one package, because I feel like that would be a lot to try and get in one package, to the point that I don't know that the Reds could win that bidding war. But at the same time, I agree with you. It is the biggest need, because I could at least see a bullpen made up of in-house options. I would not be comfortable if the Reds just sit there and told us that they're gonna platoon Steer and Lux in left field next year.
Well, listen, it is the month of October, and Jeff Carr loves to talk about scary things. So coming up, he has a treat for us, because we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Reds in extra inning ball games. Oh,
treat or trick? There's a great offer over on FanDuel right now to get started, and that is if you place a $5 wager and it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets if that's your first winning $5 wager on FanDuel. And there's so much going on right now, whether it's football, you've got the NFL and college football, of course. Bearcats are doing well, and the Bengals are playing too. And then you can also check out the playoffs, everything going on around the playoffs. And right now the Dodgers are favored to do everything possible. So if you bet on anybody that's not the Dodgers, you're going to get a much better value on that, whether it's whoever it is. If it's not the Dodgers, they're a much better value right now over on FanDuel. Plus, you can always get into the in-game props of who's going to hit a home run, who's going to steal a base, who's going to get the most strikeouts, so on and so forth. FanDuel's got you covered all the way. And even when you're on football, you can do those props there for passing yards and rushing touchdowns. All the great stuff is on FanDuel right now. Download the FanDuel app. And again, new users with your first winning $5 wager can get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. If you can't watch us, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. We're on every single one of them out there. Make sure you go check us out today. And by the way, coming up on tomorrow's show, as we mentioned already, we're going to look at another scary thing, the possibility of getting rid of Tyler Stevenson. Really? Are we really going to do that? We are on tomorrow's podcast. Make sure you check it out. But as I mentioned, treat or trick, it's definitely a trick, because the way that we play, the way that the Reds played in extra inning ball games this past year probably cost them. It definitely cost them the ability to even try for the division, but it definitely also cost them a chance at actually getting a higher seed in the wild card.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, I remembered in my mind that it was pretty bad, but then when you started digging out the numbers and how they fared in extra inning games, number one, I didn't realize they were as bad as they were. They were terrible. Number two, it made me dislike Rob Manfred even more with his silly extra inning rules and ghost runners. And man, I can't wait for that guy to retire. And number three, it really just was a difference for a lot of things. If they had just performed better in these extra inning games, it would have been a different conversation there the final 3 weeks of the season as the Mets were collapsing. The Reds would have had that wild card well in hand, just based on turning some of those losses that should have been wins into wins. It was, why don't you go through the numbers, because they really are pretty scary.
Yeah, the Reds played 15 extra inning ball games this past year, and they were 3-12 in those games. The only 3 games that they won were at home, which obviously they were walk-offs. When you win an extra innings game at home, you win on a walk-off. But at the same time, they were horrible on the road in extra innings ball games. And I think it's so crazy that this one particular thing, because, last year we harped on the whole one run ball game thing, 1 run margin of victory games type deal. This year they were better than that. They are in fact 500. They were 22-22. So 1 run games did not hurt them. Extra innings ball games, on the other hand, I mean, think about it. If they had just turned 4 of those losses into wins, we'd be talking about an 87 win ball club.
And I think this also is indicative of some of their other problems, Jeff. It's not just that it was extra inning ball games, but this team struggled with runners in scoring position. This team struggled with runners in scoring position and nobody out. And by design, Rob Manfred has this team starting every extra inning game with runners in scoring position and nobody out because he hates Cincinnati. So this is where we landed. And I think it exposed that statistic, I think, is a picture and it exposes where some of their other deficiencies were in being able to really timely hit and consistently hit when they had an opportunity with a game on the line.
Right. And I mean, you look at this, and when it comes to with runners in scoring position on the season, there were 19 teams that were better than them when it comes to like looking at OPS. Like as a team, their OPS with runners in scoring position was 724. They had 347 strikeouts with runners in scoring position. Just put the ball in play.
Yeah.
So the base runners that are on this team, if you put the ball in play, you're doing so much better. Ironically, Boston and New York lead the league with most strikeouts with runners in scoring positions, so that was kind of interesting. But the next 5 teams after those did not make the playoffs. So the fact that the Reds were even in this conversation and they still made the playoffs is very intriguing. You also look at like just overall how they did with men on base. It was unbelievably annoying because we keep talking about the fact that this team seems to have a lot of guys that are pretty good at getting on base. You got your Gavin Luxes, your TJ Friedls. Their on base percentage was pretty awesome. Even Ellie De La Cruz really seems to flourish a lot more as the guy that's getting on rather than the guy that's driving them in. But with guys on base, and this is just to say nothing of where they are, just period guys on base, the Reds' OPS is 745. Again, not very good. I think that it's so frustrating, and we know this, to watch the Reds with runners on base. So then you do wonder about the base running side of things. You do wonder, and I hate even talking about this, about the idea of moving runners over in some fashion.
I have on my notes. I have on my notes right here. Ask Jeff about bunting. So let's ask Jeff about bunting, because I'll tell you, they were so bad at this during the course of the year that on the road, I wanted them to bunt. I wanted them to bunt guys over and try and get that run and manufacture it because they were so bad at this.
And we know that Terry Francona talked about it a lot. That was like one of his favorite. Like if somebody laid down a good bunt, he'd talk about it in the postseason or in the post-game press conference. And Steve, you want to know how many times they did that?
How many times
did they do that? 12. There were
maybe
12.
Maybe they look. I've seen the never bunt T-shirts, but maybe they should have bunted more. 12 for how many?
Well, I mean, I don't know how many opportunities, but like, okay, so it says, all right, the Reds had 2,640 plate appearances with a guy on base, and they have 12.
Listen, I'm not a big fan of bunting, but at least for an extras, for the purposes of this conversation, Jeff, I think maybe bunt them over. I don't know.
Well, and they tried that too, and they were horrible at that. That was the funny part in extra innings. But at the same time, the irony of all of this is the team that led the league with sacrifice hits was the San Diego Padres. Not a team that I would have expected to say that for. They had 48 sacrifice hits. They had 11 more than the second place team, but the Reds had 12. Terry Francona and his love for bunting was the 24th team in Major League Baseball at bunting.
Let's get Jim Riggleman in here. And on that note, we're going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Reds. Thanks as always for making us your first listen each and every day, make sure you go check out the Locked On MLB channel for your second listen. Paul Francis Sullivan bringing you a national perspective. MLB Game Night, watching every single game with all of the experts of the Locked On Podcast Network baseball channel so that you don't have to. We're going to bring you all of that information over there. We'll be back in your feeds tomorrow talking about whether or not Tyler Stevenson should remain on this team. So make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss it. We'll be back in your feeds to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
Who had
Jim Riggleman? Who had Jim Riggleman on their bingo card, baby?
They've made a horrible mistake.